Ahoy hoy. I look so angry. Oh. Ahoy hoy, and welcome back to the channel. Today I look slightly less homeless. I think the beard is a little bit more... When I took my shower, I tried to make sure and mat it down so that it wasn't all puffed out. I think it looks a little bit better, actually. Anyway, I'm so obsessed with how I look. And by obsessed, I mean I'm obsessed with how bad I look. I keep saying this. I think I've said it in like 5 videos since and not done it. But I very strongly think I'm going to eventually just shave my head and beard and start over from scratch and do what I normally do, which is shave it and then start, let it grow out all the way. But in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about some comments from the YouTube section and one email, which I just had to include because it was so ridiculous. I'm going to cover some comments from, I think, like 3 videos at most. So first of all, there was the copyright strikes video that we did on Tuesday, which a lot of people have responded to. And there are people in my comments who still do not understand how Creative Commons works. So first of all, we're going to talk about these comments. Laundry KK says, objection. The SCPs themselves are licensed under Creative Commons. If there is an original production that is specifically protected under copyright, then it applies to the content that parodies the SCP content. It almost sounds like this person knows what they're talking about until they use the word parodying the SCP content, which is not what they're doing. What they're doing when you create an animated video, okay? If you create an animated SCP video, you're creating a piece of derivative content based on the original, right? Okay, that's a derivative content. The Creative Commons license is very explicit about what it does. Derivative content must be distributed under the same license with the same licensing elements. That's Creative Commons share alike attribution. And that means that other people can create additionally derivative content of your content without violating any copyrights, as long as they release that content under a Creative Commons share alike attribution license and follow the attribution and share alike elements. Period. It's not complicated. There's none of this, like, there's no misunderstanding. There's no confusion as to how this works. That's how it works. All right. So there's that. Yeah. Oh, right. About the SCP Wiki is changing, where I'm going to start trying to give you guys updates on what goes on the O5 forums. Thank you for opting to keep an eye on the O5. Your experience on the Wiki brings a perspective no other SCP YouTuber can currently match. I love the inclusion of the word currently there. Maybe one day, a prolific author from the SCP Wiki will then surpass your experience with it, but not yet. I've been an SCP Wiki. I am an SCP Wiki author with about 120 articles under my belt. I've been a operative staff, junior staff, and then eventually moderator staff. So I've been inside as well as outside. But currently, I know they didn't mean it like that, but it is pretty funny to me. Another one about the copyright strikes, which... Genuinely, I understand both sides. And this person is coming at it from a perspective that I can kind of, again, I understand the impulse, but it's also just straight up wrong. Genuinely, I understand both sides. This is Hexed. Genuinely, I understand both sides. I think that Dr. Void creates good content. I'm not a fan of reaction channels, but Isaiah X Cozy seems to make a lot of people happy and also produces good content nonetheless. That being said, Dr. Void has to accredit the SCPs in the description of his videos. And speaking as an artist, I feel Void is in the right. Feel doesn't enter into it on this one. I feel Void is in the right by protecting his art. He comes from a standpoint that he knows that SCPs are Creative Commons, but his animation is his own creation, not Creative Commons. He can claim his art, not the subject matter. Not how derivative content works. It's combined for a reason. But he's claiming his art, is what this guy's saying, basically, that it's just the art that he's claiming. No. which he clarified in a news post on his channel. It's a little irritating seeing people talk about the fact that SCP is for use and not acknowledging that his claim is for his animation. It doesn't matter that his claim is for his animation. That's not how claims work. It's a derivative. It's a single new piece of content that is derivative of a Creative Commons work. Period. This whole, I'm only making a claim for part of the work that I created isn't a thing. It's a whole united work. He can put a claim on his art because when he creates it, it is his intellectual property. That is how producing and selling art works. Normally, that is true. When you commission art from an artist of an anime character, you're not selling the idea of the concept, you are selling your art. To be fair, that is legally murky in and of itself and completely unrelated to what we're talking about here. But that, by the way, you're not going to get in trouble for creating art of an anime character. But technically what you're doing isn't, strictly speaking, legal. Is it okay? I think so. Morally? Sure. Legally? No. But you're not going to get sued because nobody's going to know about it. I feel Dr. Void is in the right. Animation is hard as hell, and you're absolutely correct about that. Absolutely. I will never say that it isn't. Even if it's less detailed than desired, he uploads a lot, which is commendable. I understand both sides, but from a freelancing artist perspective, I feel Void has the right to copyright strike the video. He's allowed to copyright his art, not the SCPs. Not if that art is if that art is an adaptation and derivation of Creative Commons content. None of that applies. And what you feel doesn't matter. It simply is what it is. That's like saying that I'm not creating it's the art that is. Okay, but if you create art of SCP, say, let me give you one that's got a fairly, The Old Man. If you do SCP-106 or 96 or 682, things that are well understood how they look, and you create derivative content of it, that art isn't, just because you made art doesn't make it not derivative content. And I'm not saying it doesn't deserve to be protected, but you're the one choosing to use SCP content. Again, if this was true, and this is how you know you're wrong, if this was true, then a big company would have already elbowed out all of us smaller creators, because they could. They have the resources. They have the production quality. We would not, my channel wouldn't exist. Volguns wouldn't exist. SCP Illustrated wouldn't exist. Dr. Void wouldn't exist. If it was true that you could do these things, a big company would have already done it. That's how you know you're wrong. People who have lawyers understand this. And that's why those of us who don't have lawyers are able to get involved in this particular fandom in a way that actually allows us to create content that people view. Just saying. Bryce Tamara. Yo, your mod on Discord is abusing their power. No, they're not. I know exactly who this is and what they're talking about. Listen, guys, I'm gonna be real with you real quick. For my Discord server, which, by the way, there's a link in the description if you'd like to join my Discord server. But in my Discord server, the rules are the rules, and sometimes we're gonna ban you just because we think you might be trouble later. And all bans on my Discord server are permanent. There's no such thing as an appeal. There's no a year later, I apologize. No, none of that. You're gone forever. Because you know what? Getting banned from a Discord server is not going to ruin your life. So why should I bother with any extra time in my life after you've already proven that you're, not worth being there right now? But yeah, I know this guy. I think he came in and said something like, first of all, he was like, told me to take down the rubber video. I'm pretty sure this is this guy. I mean, I don't have the name to connect to a name, but considering that the timing on this one is like 5 hours old of a comment, probably that guy. That's funny. Don't these people know how Creative Commons works? That's thunderstorms. Most people don't, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, it's not super complex, but it's different than what most people are used to, so it's perfectly reasonable for people to not understand it at first. I think the idea is, it's like anything. You make a mistake, you get corrected, you say, thank you for letting me know that I did that wrong. I will do it the correct way from now on, and then you move on. Simple. That's how it should work. what it usually is, and this is true of not just Creative Commons mistakes, but mistakes in general, is how dare you tell me that I didn't mean it that way. I'm not sorry because I didn't mean to make that mistake. I didn't really do this thing that you think I did. And, whatever. But what that tells the person who just tried to correct you is that you're going to do it again. Because if you don't care to correct yourself and you don't make that statement and you make excuses for the reason why you were doing the things that you were doing, what you're saying is that in the future, those excuses will still be valid, right? So you just keep doing the thing you were doing. That's why non-apologies, apologies don't work. That's also why I try to be clear to people that I am not apologizing if I'm not apologizing. But, whatever. Like, I'm sorry if you were offended, or I'm sorry if you think I did something wrong, is not a real apology. What was the other ones here? All right. We'll go with the last one here. Actually, no, let's double check. Yeah, okay. We'll go with the last YouTube comment, then I got something else to go into that I thought was pretty funny. Isaiah X Cozy from the last video. I actually went through, by the way, and watched, if you watch this, I went through and watched your video on my video. So now we're getting into a bit of a Inception sort of deal here, but I watched your video on my video. I saw it in the edit. I called you Cody, and I saw it in the edit, and I was like, I can't re-record it now, so I just left it in. Apologies for that. First and foremost, and it turns out you're absolutely right. By the way, don't appeal the strike if you're not comfortable doing so, especially when you only got one. Although the way the YouTube system works, you can appeal, and then they can go no, and then you can go, okay, well then I am willing to take this to court. That first I appeal this decision is not necessary. I mean, because they can't do anything worse to you. A lot of people don't do it because, like, if you get claimed but not struck, they'll be like, well, I'll leave it alone, because a claim can be upgraded to a strike if you piss somebody off. But in this case, they've already struck you. There's nothing worse they can do to you. You might as well appeal it. That's how the YouTube system works. You appeal, they say, no, this is valid, and then you have a choice. That's the point where you get to go, okay, I'm going to let it go, or I'm willing to take this to court. Anyway, but again, wholly your decision. I said this is the video. I saw you noticed very clearly what I'm saying here is because, like, I know how things should work. I know how, what the law and what the YouTube system should do, but sometimes things go in directions that you're not expecting, or even the wrong direction. And I don't want to be responsible for somebody else losing their channel. But I can, and that's the caveat. You said, what was it? Like, if somebody tells you, like, you should break up with your girlfriend, and then, but, don't listen to me. What do I know? It is sort of like that. But you should break up with your girlfriend. Not you specifically, but, if someone says that to you, they usually have your best interest at heart. Let's just throw that out there. Anyway, I did watch your video in response to it, and I'm glad that you enjoyed mine, I guess. Yeah. I still haven't watched any of your content, but from the video, well, that's not true. I watched 2 videos now, so I've watched your content. I also saw that you were talking about your not wanting to switch all 150 or so of your SCP videos to Creative Commons, but it looks like, I clicked through to your channel, it does look like you figured out how to individually change from the standard YouTube license to the Creative Commons license. I don't know if you did it for everything. I only checked one video. It still would behoove you to I know it's a lot of work. I've done edits on like 100 videos before myself. You got to go you should go into your description, look up every individual SCP, at least link to the SCP. The author information is on that whatever. So if it's SCP-1, and this can actually be pretty easy. Just copy paste the link all the way up to the point where it's going to be SCP say 343. I saw the video. I think it was SCP-343. So you could do this. You could just take the link. I'll have it on the page. I love that we're communicating now over over video rather than me just going on your Discord and talking to you. But you could go grab the link and go all the way up to where it says wiki.com / SCP dash, and then copy paste that and just like fucking data entry, go through every single one of your descriptions, scroll to the bottom, paste it in, and then add the number. Like you would paste it and then 343 and then paste it. And then, for example, this one, so I just clicked through one of my SCPs, 5113, so on and so forth. It would be it would be slow, but it would be faster than trying to, not having a system. Have a system, whatever works for you. But you really should go through all your videos and add at least a link to the original SCP. Anyway, what was the other things I was going to talk about? Right. We're going to move on to the weirdest email I've gotten. And I have gotten, let me tell you, a lot of weird emails. A lot of weird emails. But this one, I went on vacation, sort of. I took 2 weeks off from uploading back in October. And I'm not going to give you the name because this looks like the guy's actual real name, maybe? Anyway, I have a business email on my SCP channel that people can contact me and, for sponsorships or important things behind the scenes. And I don't always reply because there's a lot of them, and it's hard to weed out the chaff from the wheat. It really feels very pretentious to say it that way, but it's kind of true. There's a lot of junk, and then like every once in a while something worth looking at. But this one is hilarious. So I went on a break, and about a week in, somebody sent me an email that says, I am her to complain that the SCP Wiki is not working. I tried to log into it, but it doesn't seem to work. Period. First period. I even had to delete my account to reset it, but it doesn't seem to work. Can you go contact the admins so that it can be fixed? Thank you. Period. Okay. So I just want to walk you through this guy's thought processes here. And again, I'm not going to give you the guy's name because obviously that would be wrong. I have a huge voice. He has no voice. It would be unfair. But this is ridiculous. This is so dumb. I'm sorry, man. This is stupid. Your first thought, maybe it wasn't your first thought, but at some point your thought was, I can't get in the SCP Wiki. I'm going to go to this random SCP YouTuber. And yeah, I got experience. I'm on the Wiki. I used to be staff. There's all these things. Yeah. But your response is to go... I understand how asymmetric, what is it called? Parasocial relationships work, where like your fans know you better than you know your fans. So they think they've got a personal relationship with you because they see you every week or every day, depending on how much you upload. And you see them never, except for when they show up at your house at 3 a.m., knocking on your door, wanting to be like, hey, are you that guy from YouTube? And to them, you're a friend. To you, they're a weirdo. I don't understand it. But yeah, so this guy, this is this version of that in an email form, where he's just like, I can't get on the SCP Wiki. I know who will help me. Doctor Cimmerian. Oh my god, it's such a menial task. And the worst part is that, yeah, I probably could help you in a sense here, but it's like, that's not my job. And if I do that for you, all the other weird, like, where does it end? Do I just give up on the YouTube thing and just start helping people who send me random emails every time? I almost did a whole video on this email because it was that ridiculous. It was that ridiculous to me. But yeah, man. That's not the last YouTube comment. Let's see if we can find this guy. So, Nizaoko has, for the longest time, I believe it feels like it's been more than 35 days, to be honest with you. I assume this is some sort of a meme or whatever, has been asking me to say, and we're going to go ahead and do this, Uh, Bing Bong, your opinion is wrong. He's been asking me to say this for like a month, and I wasn't gonna do it, mainly because I don't want like people to just randomly request things in my comments for me to say. But one of my $100 patrons, Dr. J Redacted, explicitly asked me to do it, and I mean, I can't think of a good reason not to. I mean, other than what I just said, but I can't think of a reason that outweighs the fact that a patron asked me to do it. So, like, there we are. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please scroll down and hit the subscribe button, Carl. Jesus. Also, I've been thinking about, like, so I think I'm going to keep on the focus on Carl because I think it's hilarious, especially since it's a reference to one of my own SCPs. Then I was thinking about, like, you know, my community doesn't really have a name, right? What if you guys were the not Carls? Just saying. If you'd like to support the channel even further, head on over to patreon.com/DCimmerian and pledge at any level like everybody here on the screen already has, including Dr. J Redacted and Sinjariki, who have both pledged at $100, and Morgan, who has pledged at $40. And we are going to do something new here, because I think that this is a good, first of all, I think it's a good idea just in general. And I think it's one of those kind of things that, like, might produce more Patreon backing. I don't know. But $10 was pledged by Pinko. He or she is a new patron. Thank you very much for becoming a new patron. I very much appreciate it. I think from now on I'm going to announce new patrons if I can remember to do it. So, thank you. It's nice to know that I'm not alone out here, and I will see you all again on Tuesday.